My motivation to enroll in LEND came from a conversation that I had with a professor. We were sharing our experiences about raising a child with special needs or neurodivergent children. And she mentioned, you may be really a good candidate for this program. Had no idea about what it was. And honestly, this is the best thing I ever did. So I'm grateful for just the motivation based on a conversation that I had. The rest is history.
I want to join LEND because I have an autistic son. I have a son that has passed away and that was absolutely undiagnosed. They would never put a label on him. He was 20 years old. They thought he was bipolar 1, bipolar 2. So then I started learning more and more and more and more. And I was starting to advocate for myself and advocate for other people. It actually opens doors.
I'd always looked and had interest in LEND, but I live so far away and I wasn't sure, if that would be a possibility for me, living outside of the metro area. But I talked to my special ed director and she's like, it seems like a really important and good thing. Let's just do it. So I've put on about 5,000 miles this school year, just coming back and forth. But what I gained out of LEND is worth all the miles and gas money and all of that stuff.
I'm a junior at the University of Minnesota. I'm studying developmental psychology and family therapy, and I joined LEND this year because I wanted to get a deeper understanding of neurodevelopmental disabilities, but also just the community as well. I've been doing a lot of research that's more quantitative research, so I wanted to get a better understanding of community-based research because I haven't had any experience with that before. So I've had a really great time here learning about NDDs from the community and from just our super cool, diverse cohort. They've been such wonderful people.
Before I became a doctoral student, I was a special education teacher. Part of the challenge of being in special ed for so many years and now being in culture and teaching is thinking about the way that disability is often left out of the conversation. When we're thinking about accessible and meaningful spaces for students of all identities, we're actively thinking about our students with disabilities benefiting from that accessibility. What was really interesting to me about LEND was the opportunity to blend these ideas of research, advocacy, lived experience, and expand my knowledge beyond just what happens within the public school.
Having a daughter with a disability means that I've been thinking and perseverating really about what is life going to look like when I'm not here anymore? Where is she going to be? How is she going to survive? And so I've been on a quest the last few years to try to figure that out. That question has not gone away. Where do people with disabilities, with IDD, who need supports, live in the community, and what does that look like? And so that's what drove me to LEND, to try to get to the bottom of that question.
I was really interested in joining LEND because of family relationships with people with disabilities. My mom has disabilities, and I've been primary caregiver for most of my life. Socioeconomic factors on top of various underlying marginalization that people deal with is a really important focus for me, knowing that my story is just one of millions.
My project was with other people in my class, and we decided to do early education screening. So my piece to it is a little piece on Native Americans and how either they get evaluated and don't get evaluated and why they don't get evaluated. And that is a bridge I'm trying to cross that I had no idea existed. I'm kind of feel like I'm on a trek and I've come to a mountain I didn't know was there. So now I'm excited.
I'm on a community-based project called Hearing Autistic Voices, and we are interviewing current students and former students just about their experience in K-12 education. So asking questions like, what were their favorite classes? Who were their favorite teachers? What did those teachers do that made them their favorite? Did you find them helpful? And I think that was the best question, because they would, what I think they needed is not what we heard them say that they needed. Doing these interviews had just all these light bulb moments about, I've assumed that this is what's going to work for you. And now I'm learning more about really what helps students with autism.
I am working with Cow Tipping Press, a nonprofit organization in the Twin Cities that teaches creative writing to and then publishes work by people with intellectual and neurodevelopmental disabilities. I'm really looking at sort of combining this with my work in culture and teaching. How do we look at doing arts-based and narrative inquiry research with adults with disabilities as a way to be participatory, right? To have their voice involved and to use some research methods that we tend to think aren't accessible to people with disabilities. I think what's great about Cow Tipping is really bringing these voices of creative writing, putting them out into the world in a way that we can appreciate that there's this other way of engaging with language and art.
My project for Minnesota Lend is the MN Act Early project. So we are working on early developmental delay identification and resource allocation to different communities. We have our materials translated in multiple languages, and we've been out in community. We have 4 different languages across our team, so we're there to translate to people as well.
I've been working on doing a policy brief about different housing options for people with disabilities. We've had this long history of people leaving institutions. Where are they living now? That's essentially, we take that information and we break it down into layman's terms. So that's the policy research brief. Another thing that we'll be doing is also creating a video. When I talk about a person with disabilities who has IDD, who requires around-the-clock care, can they live on their own? And what we've been able to find is a family, I think they're like a unicorn who's been able to make it happen. And so we're going to be sharing that family's story with the community.
I'm making a website. Kind of what I started it with was, I'm like, I want to make a booklet. And then from a booklet, it went to a book. And then from a book, it actually went to a website. I'm figuring out how to make it more accessible now. So I've put in my story and what I think and what different aspects of it. So one of them is big one is about housing and how there's so many different types. The site is called For People with Disabilities by a Person with a Disability. So I kind of made it kind of a cute, fun name to a fun, cute project.
What I got out of Lend was a different education. It was like a whole entire world that I had no knowledge of on the other side of things. It just enlightened me as to I can advocate more now. I can do more work. After this, I'm going to try to get more into research because I found out I have a love for it. And I love policy work. Probably where people think these things are boring, I am super excited about them.
When I said that Lend has been the best thing for me, it's opened up a lot of doors professionally. My goal is to create a space, especially in minoritized communities, where parents can have a place to ask questions, be their authentic self, and get resources that they need without feeling stigmatized. Navigating the system, especially through the state, can be a challenge, and having a community of women or families can be really helpful.
The most exciting and interesting part for me is just the valuable connections, interactions, knowing that these resources, these people are here who want to do this work, and you can reach out to at any point in time and say, remember me from Lend, I want to connect on this. Those connections will continue beyond the program.
I'm excited to have a better impact, I think, on families and on students, because I'm a consultant, and so I am more of that kind of indirect provider, but just being able to get the information that I have out to those teachers who do work with those kids, and just being that bridge between all the different systems, because our ultimate goal is to have successful students that are able to graduate and move on and do really amazing things, which they do. But being able to be a bigger part of that, I think is really exciting.
For me, it has helped shape the way I view housing in the state of Minnesota as it relates to people with disabilities. And I think it'll shape the way I talk about it. A lot of times when you come into a problem and you don't really understand it, you think you understand it, and the answer seems pretty simple, but it is never that way, otherwise it would have been solved. I think what it gives me is the texture and the context for why we are where we are, but at the same time allows me to keep dreaming and talking about those dreams in a way that hopefully people will understand and take an interest in.
So I started my career in financial services. I've been very focused on financial services and like staying in that realm because I understand that the power of the purse is very important in decision making. But I think having this information and this knowledge from Lend will allow me to kind of dissipate it through various boardrooms where they're making decisions and not really understanding the lives they're impacting. So I think it's just expanding my breadth of empathy. Being able to learn about disability in this space has been, there's not even words, like it's been great.
I'm a junior right now, so I have one more year, but after that, I'd like to go to grad school. I'd like to do clinical psychology, and I'd like to become a pediatric neuropsychologist. So someone who's like really, really important in that support system for children, especially if they have like early neurodevelopmental disabilities that like need that early diagnosis so that they can have early intervention. And I'd like to be able to be that support system for children who are like me.